So one last thing to go in this particular section, and what we're going to do is just add some MobX developer tools to Chrome. And I'll just open up a new tab and I'll just type in MobX developer tools into Google. And what we want here is the Google Chrome extension. And what we can do is just add these to Chrome. Now, unfortunately, at the time of recording, there's a bug that prevents these from working as they should do. And let me show you what I mean by that. If I just go back to my tab that's showing my application, I'm just going to reload the page. And we've got access to the developer tools here. And we can also see them inside when we inspect our components. And if I click on MobX, then one of the problems is we only see the Changes tab. We don't actually see what we should see here, which is a Components tab and a Performance tab as well. And if I click on the Developer Tools and just go to the Overview, what we should see here is Components, Changes and Performance. But unfortunately we don't. Now there is an issue raised in the GitHub page for these particular tools. And it was raised as an issue 7 days ago. And based on the version of MobX and MobX React Lite that we're using, these tools are not fully working at this time, and it would require downgrading MobX and MobX React in order to make use of these. Now, we're not going to downgrade MobX just for developer tools. And for now, we're just going to have to make do with what we've got here, which is just to see the changes. Now, if I click back on my application, I just refresh the page. And what we need to do is click on the little button to start recording. But if we take a look and refresh the page, then what we should see is our actions taking place. And we can see in our loading activities, we can see what's going on inside here. And we can see all of the activities. And it looks quite long because this is the activity objects that's being added to our activity registry here. And each object has a number of different properties. And then what we can also see is which components are observing our activity registry, and our app, our navbar, our activity dashboard, and our activity list are making use of this particular action. And if we go ahead and we view an action, we can see that we're selecting an activity. If I go ahead and delete an activity, we'll see the delete activity action going in there. And these tools are kind of useful. At least we can see what's going on with MobX when we do various things. And if you're coming from Redux and you've been using Redux, then this is going to feel a little bit disappointing because the Redux development tools are some of the best I've ever seen, and the tools we get with MobX for debugging are not quite as good, but still useful. And hopefully by the time you're watching this, the problem with the components part of this has been resolved, and that will allow you to inspect what's going on a per component level and which state is available to those components. But anyway, I just wanted to introduce the MobX development tools, such as they are at the moment. And when these get fixed, I'll re-record this lesson and give a more in-depth overview of what's going on here. But this does bring us to the end of this particular section, so I'm just going to open up the console again, just make sure there's no warnings and the console is clean and everything seems to be working as it should be. And indeed it is. And what we'll do now is we'll just go back and we'll save our changes into source control, and I'm just going to stage the changes and then just say end of section 7. And commit these changes and then push these up to GitHub. And we'll wrap up this particular section next with a summary.